I think my new neighbors are trying to eat me, and I'm terrified. This will be my last update. After you read this, you'll understand why. After calm was taken, I didn't know what to do. The local police department couldn't be trusted. Perhaps I could get in touch with someone from the FBI, but by then it would be far too late. I'm not saying I did the smartest thing, but it was the only thing that came to mind at the time. Nothing was going to stop me from getting my wife back. And so I got in my car, drove back to the old neighborhood, and parked across the street from the neighbor's place. I sat in the driver's seat, heart racing, as I scoped out the place. As usual, the neighbor's house was dark. There were 2 cars in the driveway, which belonged to Dennis and Liz, but no police cruisers in sight. Had the officers brought her back here? If so, where was their car? I was about to find out. My entire body was shaking violently as I walked up to Liz and Dennis' door. I raised my fist to knock before realizing that perhaps it was a profoundly stupid thing to do, announcing myself in such an obvious fashion. Instead, I turned back and crept around the side of the house, through the gate, and into the backyard. I walked as slowly and quietly as I could as I made my way up the steps and peered through the window of the back door. Nothing but darkness in there. I placed a hand on the knob and turned it. Shockingly, it was open. Was I actually taking them by surprise? Or was this some sort of trap? To be honest, I didn't really care. I stepped into the dark. Sometimes, when you wake up in the middle of the night, it's possible to blindly find your way to the bathroom without turning on any lights due to your familiarity with your own home. This was the opposite of that. I was feeling around the dark house, step by step, unable to see much of anything. I felt blind, like I'd been stripped of my senses, and I hated every minute of it. The floor creaked as I stepped again, and I remained frozen in place for a whole 60 seconds before deciding it was safe to move. Maybe Liz and Dennis really are asleep, I thought to myself. Maybe my wife isn't even here. But that's when I heard the noises. At first, it almost sounded like moaning, sounds of pleasure. And there were multiple people engaging, not just 1 or 2. Was there some kind of sick, twisted, cannibal orgy going on in this house? Or worse, what if? No, I didn't even want to consider that option. I followed the disgusting sounds, continuing to guide myself through the dark. The moans became louder and more clear, and that's when I realized I was literally just around the corner from whatever weird stuff was happening here. My heart was beating so fast, I thought that it might give out at any moment. When I finally stepped around the corner, what I saw shook me to my very core. There were 4 bodies sitting around the dining room table, a single plate in front of each and a few candles that flickered with light scattered on the table. Dennis, Liz, Ada, DeVoe. The moans I'd heard were, in fact, sounds of pleasure. But they weren't rooted in sex. They were rooted in the act of eating. Each of them made awful sounds as they nibbled on what appeared to be tiny, stubby pieces of meat on their plates. They hadn't seen me yet. Then suddenly I shifted my weight, and the floor beneath me creaked loudly. The eaters looked up, staring at me. Now I could see that their faces and teeth and shirts were full of blood. No one moved for a tense beat. I just want my wife back. Please, I'm begging you. They all shared a look with each other, as if they were considering the option. For a moment, I almost thought my begging might work. Then suddenly, each and every one of them shot up from their seat and came after me. I ran back into the dark. "Calm, where are you?" I yelled as I tripped and stumbled through the unfamiliar space. The next thing I knew, I'd found myself at the bottom of some stairs that led to the second floor of the house. I didn't really have any other option, so I ascended. Once I climbed to the top, I felt around and found what appeared to be the closest bedroom. I ran inside, shut the door, and locked it. Immediately, I tried to flip the lights on, but they didn't seem to work. I heard a banging. The eaters were now at the door. I had to think fast. I looked to my left and saw a nearby dresser. I pulled at it with all my might and wedged it against the door. "That'll buy me some time," I thought to myself. But what about calm? Then I heard something. A soft voice, mumbling a single word. "Ryan." I turned around, and that's when I saw Calm. She was sitting on the bed calmly and didn't seem like herself. Calm. I ran over to her. The moonlight coming in through the window was hitting her right in the face. It almost felt like some sort of strange miracle that she was still alive. "I'm gonna get us out of here," I told her. The eaters rammed the door again. I tugged at my wife, trying to get her to get up off the bed. And that's when I realized two things. The first was that she was handcuffed to the bedpost. The second was that, well, it was now painfully clear to me what those monsters were eating downstairs. Oh my God! Each and every one of Calm's fingers had been cut off. I almost puked. I tried my best to move past this realization, but that was easier said than done. "What have they done to you?" Calm didn't look at me. She had seemingly no reaction to any of this. I think she was still in shock. "Don't worry," I said. "I'm gonna get us out of here." I stood up on the bed and started kicking the bedpost until the wood snapped, freeing Calm. Then I ushered her over to the window, where I pushed it open and looked outside. The second floor roof was our only escape route. The eaters were just about to break down the bedroom door. We had to move quickly. "Don't look down," I whispered to Calm as we shimmied along the roof. Blood was still leaking from her hands and tracking behind us as we moved under the moonlight. Once we were just over the front lawn, I saw my car, still parked where I'd left it. So close, I thought. We were almost there. "I'm going to let you down easy, okay?" Calm nodded absent-mindedly as I grabbed onto her wrists and helped lower her as far as I could, until I finally dropped her onto the grass on the front lawn. It was a bit of a fall, but she got up almost immediately and seemed okay. Then I lowered myself down and dropped into the abyss, slightly twisting my ankle on the way. But that was the least of my problems. "The car's right over there," I said quietly as we hurried across the street. Once we were both safely inside, I started the engine and locked the doors, and that's when a loud crashing sound almost gave me a heart attack. Ada and Deval were on either side of the car, smashing the windows in with their batons. I screamed, but Calm was silent, still totally out of it. I put the car into drive just as another body appeared in front of us. It was Dennis. He was smiling at me, the sick freak. I was suddenly reminded of the night that all of this started. The two of us alone sitting at the dining room table. The weird stuff he said to me, and that disgusting droplet of drool that came out of his mouth while he considered what I tasted like. Screw him. I stepped on the gas, thawing it. The tires screeched, and my vehicle lurched forward. Ada and Deval weren't able to hold on any longer. My blood was pumping as we slammed into Dennis and his body disappeared underneath the car. There was a satisfying thump as we sped away into the night. It was probably a whole 60 seconds before I was able to process what had just happened or even speak. "We're okay," I finally said. "It's over." My wife didn't say anything. She just kept staring into space, a broken person. But at least she was alive. I didn't stop driving until we needed gas, nearly 4.5 hours later. For my own safety, I cannot say where we've been hiding since this all went down. But what I can tell you is that I have no idea where we go from here. I couldn't take Khan to a hospital that night to have her hands checked out because, well, we knew it wasn't safe. And besides, it's not like we had the fingers to reattach anyway. By now, I'm sure the police have spun the entire case around and are using city resources to try to find us. What I'm also sure of is that there must be more people, just like us, who have been tortured, terrified, and eaten by these very sick people. Perhaps some of them are missing fingers, toes, arms, legs. Perhaps some of them have nothing left. But I need you to believe when I say that the eaters are out there, and they're still hungry. So if one of them is ever bold enough to tell you outright that you've been marked, don't do what I did. Don't go to the police. Don't try and defend yourself and your home. Just run and do not look back.